Section 20 of The American Rivals of Sherlock Holmes. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The American Rivals of Sherlock Holmes. The Frame-Up by Richard Harding Davis. When the voice over the telephone promised to name the man who killed Herman Banff, District Attorney Wharton was uptown lunching at Delmonico's. This was contrary to his custom, and a concession to Hamilton Cutler, his distinguished brother-in-law. That gentleman was interested in a state constabulary bill, and had asked State Senator Bissell to father it. He had suggested to the senator that, in the legal points involved in the bill, his brother-in-law would undoubtedly be charmed to advise him. So that morning, to talk it over, Bissell had come from Albany and, as he was forced to return the same afternoon, had asked Wharton to lunch with him uptown near the station. That in public life there breathed a man with soul so dead who, were he offered a chance to serve Hamilton Cutler, would not jump at the chance was outside the experience of the county chairman. And in so judging his fellow men, with the exception of one man, the senator was right. The one man was Hamilton Cutler's brother-in-law. In the national affairs of his party, Hamilton Cutler was one of the four leaders. In 2 cabinets he had held office. At a foreign court as an ambassador, his dinners, of which the diplomatic corps still spoke with emotion, had upheld the dignity of 90 million Americans. He was rich. The history of his family was the history of the state. When the Albany boats drew abreast of the old Cutler mansion on the east bank of the Hudson, the passengers pointed at it with deference. Even when the searchlights pointed at it, it was with deference. And on Fifth Avenue, as the Seeing New York car passed his townhouse, it slowed respectfully to half speed. When, apparently for no other reason than that she was good and beautiful, he had married the sister of a then unknown upstate lawyer, everyone felt Hamilton Cutler had made his first mistake. But, like everything else into which he entered, for him matrimony also was a success. The prettiest girl in Utica showed herself worthy of her distinguished husband. She had given him children as beautiful as herself. As what Washington calls a cabinet lady, she had kept her name out of the newspapers. As Madame Lambastris, she had put archduchesses at their ease, and after 10 years she was an adoring wife, a devoted mother, and a proud woman. Her pride was in believing that for every joy she knew she was indebted entirely to her husband. To owe everything to him, to feel that through him the blessings flowed, was her ideal of happiness. In this ideal her brother did not share. Her delight in a sense of obligation left him quite cold. No one better than himself knew that his rapid-fire rise in public favor was due to his own exertions, to the fact that he had worked very hard, had been independent, had kept his hands clean, and had worn no man's collar. Other people believed he owed his advancement to his brother-in-law. He knew they believed that, and it hurt him. When, at the annual dinner of the Amen Corner, they burlesqued him as singing to Ham Cutler, "You made me what I am today, I hope you're satisfied," he found that to laugh with the others was something of an effort. His was a difficult position. He was a party man. He had always worked inside the organization. The fact that whenever he ran for an elective office the reformers endorsed him, and the best elements in the opposition parties voted for him, did not shake his loyalty to his own people. And to Hamilton Cutler, as one of his party leaders, as one of the bosses of the invisible government, he was willing to defer. But while he could give allegiance to his party leaders, and from them was willing to receive the rewards of office, from a rich brother-in-law he was not at all willing to accept anything. Still less was he willing that of the credit he deserved for years of hard work for the party, of self-denial, and of efficient public service, the rich brother-in-law should rob him. His pride was to be known as a self-made man, as the servant only of the voters. And now that he had fought his way to one of the goals of his ambition, now that he was district attorney of New York City, to have it said that the office was the gift of his brother-in-law was bitter. But he believed the injustice would soon end. In a month he was coming up for re-election, and night and day was conducting a campaign that he hoped would result in a personal victory so complete as to banish the shadow of his brother-in-law. Were he re-elected by the majority on which he counted, he would have the party leaders on their knees. Hamilton Cutler would be forced to come to him. He would be in line for promotion. He knew the leaders did not want to promote him, that they considered him too inclined to kick over the traces, but were he now re-elected, at the next election, either for mayor or governor, he would be his party's obvious and legitimate candidate. The re-election was not to be an easy victory. Outside his own party, to prevent his succeeding himself as district attorney, Tammany Hall was using every weapon in her armory. The commissioner of police was a Tammany man, and in the public prints Wharton had repeatedly declared that Banff, his star witness against the police, had been killed by the police, and that they had prevented the discovery of his murderer. For this the wigwam wanted his scalp, and to get it had raked his public and private life, had used threats and bribes, and with women had tried to trap him into a scandal. But Big Tim Meehan, the lieutenant the Hall had detailed to destroy Wharton, had reported back that for their purpose his record was useless, that bribes and threats only flattered him, and that the traps set for him he had smilingly sidestepped. This was the situation a month before Election Day when, to oblige his brother-in-law, Wharton was uptown at Delmonico's lunching with Senator Bissell. Downtown at the office, Rumson, the assistant district attorney, was on his way to lunch when the telephone girl halted him. Her voice was lowered and betrayed almost human interest. From the corner of her mouth she whispered, "This man has a note for Mr. Wharton. Says if he don't get it quick, it'll be too late. Says it will tell him who killed Hymie Banff." The young man and the girl looked at each other and smiled. Their experience had not tended to make them credulous. Had he lived, Herman Banff would have been for Wharton the star witness against a ring of corrupt police officials. In consequence, his murder was more than the taking off of a shady and disreputable citizen. It was a blow struck at the high office of the district attorney, at the grand jury, and the law. But so far whoever struck the blow had escaped punishment, and though for a month, ceaselessly by night and day, the office and the police had sought him, he was still at large, still unknown. There had been hundreds of clues. They had been furnished by the detectives of the city and county, and of the private agencies, by amateurs, by newspapers, by members of the underworld with a score to pay off or to gain favor. But no clue had led anywhere. When, in hoarse whispers, the last one had been confided to him by his detectives, Wharton had protested indignantly. "Stop bringing me clues," he exclaimed. "I want the man. I can't electrocute a clue." So when, after all other efforts over the telephone, a strange voice offered to deliver the murderer, Rumson was skeptical. He motioned the girl to switch to the desk telephone. "Assistant District Attorney Rumson speaking," he said. "What can I do for you?" Before the answer came, as though the speaker were choosing his words, there was a pause. It lasted so long that Rumson exclaimed sharply. "Hello," he called. "Do you want to speak to me, or do you want to speak to me?" "I've got a letter for the district attorney," said the voice. "I'm to give it to nobody but him. It's about Banff. He must get it quick or it'll be too late." "Who are you?" demanded Rumson. "Where are you speaking from?" The man on the other end of the wire ignored the questions. "Where'll Wharton be for the next 20 minutes?" "If I tell you," parried Rumson, "will you bring the letter at once?" The voice exclaimed indignantly. "Bring nothing. I'll send it by district messenger. You're wasting your time trying to reach me. It's the letter you want. It tells—" The voice broke with an oath and instantly began again. "I can't talk over the phone. I tell you, it's life or death. If you lose out, it's your own fault. Where can I find Wharton?" "At Delmonico's," answered Rumson. "He'll be there until 2 o'clock." "Delmonico's? That's 44th Street." "Right," said Rumson. "Tell the messenger—" He heard the receiver slam upon the hook. With the light of the hunter in his eyes, he turned to the girl. "They can laugh," he cried, "but I believe we've hooked something. I'm going after it." In the waiting room he found the detectives. "Hewitt," he ordered, "take the subway and whip up to Delmonico's. Talk to the taxi starter till a messenger boy brings a letter for the DA. Let the boy deliver the note, and then trail him till